Hey everybody, I am back with another trio of recommendations for you. Now, I spoke about this last week, but outside of COVID, fear is probably the biggest issue we are facing right now. Well, here is a book that deals with this head on. It's called Fearless by Max Lucado. It came out about 10 years ago, and the tagline is, "Imagine your life without fear." Now, I've read so many Max Lucado books that they all just seem to kind of merge together, sort of like the days right now. I actually don't know what day it is today. But there is a chapter in here that I think speaks directly to the situation we're in right now. It's titled, "What If Things Get Worse?" Fear of global calamity. Now, disclaimer, I'm no Morgan Freeman, but I would like to read you a small sample from this chapter. I could do without the pharmaceutical warnings. I understand their purpose, mind you. Medical manufacturers must caution against every potential tragedy so that when we take their pill and grow a third arm or turn green, we can't sue them. I get that. Still, there is something about the merger of happy faces with voiceover advisories of paralysis that just doesn't work. Let's hope this practice of total disclosure doesn't spill over into the delivery room. It might. After all, about to be born babies need to know what they're getting into. Pre-birth warnings could likely become standard maternity ward procedure. Can you imagine the scene? A lawyer stands at a woman's bedside. She's panting Lamaze breaths between contractions. He's reading the fine print of a contract in the direction of her belly. Welcome to the post-umbilical cord world. Be advised, however, that human life has been known, in most cases, to result in death. Some individuals have reported experiences with lethal viruses, chemical agents, and/or bloodthirsty terrorists. Birth can also result in fatal encounters with tsunamis, inebriated pilots, road rage, famine, nuclear disaster, and/or PMS. Side effects of living include superviruses, heart disease, and final exams. Human life is not recommended for anyone who cannot share a planet with evil despots or survive a flight on airplane food. Life is a dangerous endeavor. We pass our days in the shadows of ominous realities. The power to annihilate humanity has, it seems, been placed in the hands of people who are happy to do so. Discussions of global attack prompted one small boy to beg, "Please, Mother, can't we go someplace where there isn't any sky?" If the global temperature rises a few more degrees, if classified information falls into sinister hands, if the wrong person pushes the wrong red button, what if things only get worse? I highly recommend this book, or any Max Lucado book right now. His writing is an excellent blend of humor, insight, and most importantly, hope. Now, it's one thing for us adults to be scared. It's quite another for our kids to try to make sense of what's going on. Someone shared this wonderful picture with me, which I think probably illustrates how a lot of parents are feeling right now. The pressure of having to protect, educate, and provide for them 24/7 right now is intense. And this brings me to my second recommendation, the 1997 Academy Award-winning Roberto Benigni film, Life is Beautiful. Now, I try to avoid spoilers of any kind when I am discussing movies because I don't like to know anything about a movie before I see it. I don't watch trailers, I don't read summaries, I don't follow any actors or directors on social media. I like the story to be a complete and total surprise. But for the purposes of this video, I have to break my own rule and explain some of the plot to you. The protagonist is a young Jew named Guido, a man who is poor by worldly standards, but rich in imagination. The first act of the film shows us how Guido meets and falls in love with a schoolteacher named Dora. Although she is engaged to another man, Guido uses his tremendous creativity and charm to woo her, and the two are eventually married and have a son named Josue. The second act begins with the outbreak of World War II. Guido and his family are captured and sent to a concentration camp. The men and women are separated in the camp, so Guido is now alone with his son in this prison with the potential to be killed any day. I hope that I've revealed just enough of the movie's plot to pique your interest and also to make my point. It is so fascinating and uplifting to watch Guido guide his son through this awful experience with enthusiasm, joy, and humor. I think we as parents can learn a lot from the message of this movie right now. Now, when it comes to our kids, I think we also need to give some thought to what their world is going to look like when this is all over. And it will end at some point. Which brings me to my third recommendation, the 1970 Cat Stevens album, T for the Tillerman. This is one of my top 10 favorite albums, and it's also number 206 on the Rolling Stones list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. This is such a good record. I listen to it quite often, and I really lucked out and found it in a secondhand store in Abbotsford for just 25 cents. The first track on this record is called Where Do the Children Play? It's a really beautiful song, and the message in it is really powerful as well. You know, we've made a lot of progress in our world, educationally, scientifically, technologically, but I think we really need to be aware of the impact of these developments. I can only speak from my own personal experience, but all the virtual tools available to my kids right now, movies, TV shows, FaceTiming, texting, none of them are filling their deep need to go outside and play with their friends. I hope that one good thing that comes from this pandemic, other than all my wonderful recommendations, of course, is that it forces us to re-examine our priorities and improve the social, economic, and environmental world that we're leaving to our kids and our grandkids. I hope you take me up on these recommendations. There is a link to each of them in the description. And if you've already experienced them, I would love to hear your thoughts on them. Take care, and I will see you next week.